let's get to the Boston University Terriers as well. And the Terriers come into this thing. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. They lost they beat Boston College in the Bean Pot semifinal, lost the Bean Pot final. But really, I think that we've seen them kind of come into their own over the last couple of weeks here, and really play some great hockey overall. And we saw it certainly in the regionals, where they were a very difficult team to play against. I think that was part. You look at guys like Tom Willander getting into the mix. You see, Macklin Celebrini. Okay, well, we're going to shut him down. Is that going to be enough? Well, it wasn't. They scored 12 goals over their 2 games. They didn't necessarily get challenged as much. I think they really dominated that Minnesota team as well. You look back at that game and just the way that went, and it was goals coming from every which way. You had Jack Harvey getting involved. You had Lane Hudson. Obviously, he's always a threat to score goals. So it's been really fun to watch this team kind of mature over the course of the season, because there have been ups and downs. They've had a couple stretches where they struggled, where they couldn't get the wins. But really, you look at the last little bit here, and the only time they lost was to Boston College in that Hockey East championship game. And that was a 6-2 final, where I think things kind of got out of control, and they kind of lost their way a bit. So they're going to have to play some disciplined hockey. They're going to have to get in there. But really, I think what this game is going to come down to is the thing that I think BU has over Denver is that they have 2 players that at a moment's notice can simply take over the game. And I don't think that's necessarily true of Denver. And sometimes that's not what you want. You don't want to be in a position where it's got to be 1 or 2 guys taking over a game. But when it's guys like Macklin Celebrini and Lane Hudson, as good as they have been all season long, you take it because they're exceptional. Celebrini, quite frankly, is a machine. 64 points, Hobie hat trick finalist. He's a power play weapon. He's an even strength savant. He might be the most well-rounded freshman center we've seen perhaps since Jonathan Taves. I mean, just in terms of the well-roundedness that he brings to the table, and he's only 17 years old. He is a true 200-foot center. He's committed defensively. He plays hard off the puck. He engages physically. He doesn't shy away from contact at any point. He goes to the interior. He goes to the hard areas, and he can score. So you got all of those factors in there. This is the kind of player that can will a team across the finish line. At 17 years old, you shouldn't be able to do that at the college level. Celebrini is. That's what he can be. He doesn't have to be at all times, because I think that BU has enough talent around him where he doesn't have to do that. And then that really goes back to Lane Hudson, who is a play-driving defenseman who can make plays out of nowhere, who can do anything. He's incredibly creative. He's incredibly crafty. He makes things happen, and he's really, really exciting to watch. And he's got 49 goals this year, or 49 points this year. Wow, 49 goals would have been amazing. 49 points, 15 of which are goals. And he scores big goals. He had some, goals against Minnesota. He's scored goals in big games. He's had overtime winners. He's done little things well. He defends well. And then, you've got this decor, I think, which allows him to play the way that he does. You've got Tom Willander, who's an exceptional defender as a true freshman, a top 10 pick from the Vancouver Canucks. Cade Weber, who's been one of the top shot blockers in the entire country. He's been, he's not going to get you points, but he's going to prevent goals. I think that those types of players have stepped up in big moments. So you've got players that can do things for you, and play big minutes. Like Willander's going to play a ton. Hudson's going to play a ton. And then on top of that, you've got the scoring depth, that secondary scoring. Quinn Hudson, who's the older brother of Lane Hudson, and he's got lots of big goals this year, 18 goals this season. Ryan Green, who I think is a tremendous player, a center with skill, tenacity, plays on both sides of the puck. He's been very good. Chicago Blackhawks prospect, 36 points this year. Jeremy Wilmer, 36 points for him as well. Luke Tuck, 29 points. So they've got guys that could do it. And then you got Shane LaChance, another freshman who can get into the net front, who can make plays and do things there. Jack Hughes from the Los Angeles Kings prospect, so not the one that you're thinking of, but a guy that came in, and I liked his game in the regionals. I thought he made a couple of plays that were really positive for his team. So there's depth there. And then, as I mentioned, Jack Harvey had some of his best moments later this season. So guys peaking at the right time. Where things are going to be interesting is I think Matthew Caron, for a guy that has a 915 save percentage this season, I think sometimes he's gotten a bad rap, and there certainly been games where he hasn't been at his best. But over the last little while here, he's played really strong hockey. 25 saves against Minnesota, 28 against RIT. He had 32 against Maine in the Hockey East quarterfinal or semifinal, which was maybe one of his best games of the entire season. So, he's been on a bit of a roll here, winning a lot of games in the last little while, going back to when, they did manage to beat Boston College in that Beanpot game. And going back to that was a 34 save performance from Matthew Caron. So he can absolutely turn it on when he needs to. And when he does that, well, then you've got a real good chance to have a win.